Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. To all my new subscribers, welcome. This is going to be a video unlike anything else I've ever produced because in this video, I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk about the antique and collectible consulting business that I run. This video is going to be in a Q&A type format. So I'm going to read off a question. I'm going to give the answer. I chose to do it that way so I don't go off on a tangent. I have a tendency to sometimes go off on a tangent on some of these videos that are not well scripted. And this is a video that I really didn't script. So I'm kind of winging this, to be 100% honest with you guys. That being said, before we go any further, I must reiterate this. You guys have nothing to worry about. All the content that I am continuing to produce on this channel will be available free of charge. That's not going to change. If you have no desire to learn anything about antique and collectible consulting, please feel free to turn the video off. You are not obligated to watch this video. It doesn't tie in to really any of the core fundamentals that I teach in the antiques and collectibles trade. It also really doesn't tie into any other antique and collectible markets unless if you want to use my services. So this is more of a self-promotion video. It's also a video that kind of takes the secret veil off of what I do in antique and collectible consulting because I must get asked literally through Facebook Messenger, through LinkedIn, through the comment section on these particular videos that I upload. Sean, what the hell does a consultant in the antiques and collectibles industry do? How did you get in the business? How can I use your services? Well, at the end of the video, after you get all this information, there is going to be my personal business email address where if you do want to learn more about my services or you want to work with me, and again, there's no obligation. I have to state that like a 2 o'clock in the morning infomercial. You will, though, have the ability to reach out to me if you so desire. So we're going to get right into this. The first question that I am not going to answer in this video because of time constraints is how did you get into the business? If this video would get subsequent views and a lot of people want to know the answer to that question, I could easily do another video on that topic. Ironically, it's a 20-minute long story that I would have to go into detail and tell. It is fascinating. It is something that a lot of you probably would learn from if I would do a video on that. But at the same token, I want to respect a lot of my viewers' time, and I don't want to go into that in this video. So that'll be a side topic. If we need to visit it, we will. The next question that I routinely get asked is, Sean, what the hell is antique and collectible consulting? Well, it's kind of interesting that you asked that because if you guys read the articles that I write for Antiques and Auction News, if you follow my work, or even if you're a fan of this channel, one of the things that I think we will all agree upon is that in the course of literally the last 10 years, the antiques and collectibles trade has changed considerably. It is no longer a market for just collectors, just enthusiasts, just people who are passionate about these items. Sure, those people operate in these markets, and hopefully, in certain markets, they make up the majority of collectors out there. But there is a growing sentiment of investors, of collectors with an investment mindset that truly look at these markets as a panacea of alternate asset investing. Remember what I said before in my other videos, guys. One thing that really attracts a lot of people to the antiques and collectibles trade is that it is truly, in most cases, there are some exceptions. Again, I'm not going to get into them in this video, but in most cases, it is a truly free market system. Meaning, if you would go into Wall Street and you would attempt to manipulate the stock market or use insider trading, if you get caught, you're going to get fined, you're going to potentially face jail time, and you're going to have a whole slew of other problems. In the antiques and collectibles trade, you can come in, you can use knowledge that is applied either in or through these markets, you can use education in finance and economics to put yourself ahead of the pack. What a consultant in the trade does, they remain independent, and I got to stress that. They remain independent. They're not a dealer. They're not attached to any auction company. They're not attached to a third-party grading company. They have no bias in any of these markets or the companies that occupy these markets. So for instance, if you bring them a comic book collection and you say, hey, I want you to go over my comic book collection with me, my holdings, and I'm thinking about selling these titles here, I want to know where I would get the best price. Since they're independent, they can tell you truthfully, well, these books over here may do best at this particular auction house. But these books over here, you would want to consign to this auction house over here. And I should state in this video, I'm trying to leave out specific names of auction houses because, again, I'm being unbiased. So I want to make that point clear. Another thing that's great when you work with a consultant who is truly a consultant and knows their stuff, they are able to either contain your passion or put it in perspective so that if you're thinking of bidding on a $10,000 video game, they can talk through with you the realistic risk versus reward scenario. And this is something that I try to do on this channel on a regular basis. There's too many people coming into these markets who do not understand time value of money, opportunity cost, risk versus reward. These are all real risks when we talk about investing in alternate asset classes. And this doesn't only have to apply to antiques and collectibles. We could apply these same principles to silver and gold investing, cryptocurrency, even the financial markets, even real estate investing. So it's very important to have somebody who is at least going to be able to present a realistic point of view about how these markets work and operate. That's what somebody who is a true, educated, independent consultant in the trade can provide you. Now, the next question that I always get asked, well, what services do you offer? And I'm just going to read you a list and I will explain them as needed. My most popular service that I offer are phone consultations. I generally charge, and we're going to get to rates in a minute, usually around $50 for an hour-long phone call. And in that time, you can ask me anything you want about collecting markets, auction houses, how certain markets are looking at present time, strength of the market, risks of the market, opportunity costs, what other markets are trending up, what markets are trending down. So that consultation is one of my most popular services because there's a lot of people out there before they go on any of these auction sites and spend a considerable amount of money. They want to bounce their ideas off of somebody who is experienced in the trade and who is realistic. You know, if you come to me and you tell me, Sean, I want to invest in coins. I love coins. First question I'm going to ask you is, well, what do you know about the coin collecting marketplace? It's one of the most sophisticated markets in the antiques and collectibles trade. If you tell me, well, I never bought a coin before, or I know nothing about how the market works, I'm going to probably ease up on you a little bit and tell you, well, before you make your first purchase, you got to start reading books to make sure this is the direction you want to go, because you do not want to make a mistake buying an investment grade coin. You will take a bath if you go to sell that. You overpay for something and you sell it on the market, you're going to most likely take a bath. So that is probably one of my most popular services. Other things that I do for high profile clients, and again, I'll specify this when I get to the question about why up until this point my business was so secretive. I do collection and portfolio management. These are people who have significant holdings. They tend to have collections worth 6, 7, 8 figures, guys. I normally do not do this for the average person who collects Funko Pops or even vintage toys to a certain extent, or items like video games or even vintage video games. This is a service that people come to me who have $500,000 invested in rare coins. They have high-end pieces of artwork. They have traditional antiques. Now, before you shut the video off and go, oh, I can't work with Sean, that's not true. I want to make sure that I put that caveat there. You're going to see my rates and how affordable they are towards the end of this video, so stick around. The next thing that I will engage in is appraisals. Now, to be fair, most of my clients I work with either via email, phone, Zoom, whatever. So in those instances, appraisals are easy for certified and graded collectibles. Where I draw the line is, it's very hard to do a true appraisal by just having a picture of something. I have to see the item and have it in my possession. So what I do for a lot of my high-profile clients, if they wanted me to do an appraisal, if they send me a picture of something and I say, you know what, this looks like something, send it to me. I'll look at it. I will examine it firsthand in person and I'll send it back and I'll give you an appraisal based on that. That's how I do those appraisals. So for a lot of you guys out there that's watching me on YouTube, that's going to have my email address at the end of this video, appraisals most likely will not be of benefit to you because I need the item in hand. So unless if you have something that you already know is worth most likely several thousands of dollars, it's not going to be worth me doing an appraisal on it unless if it's already third-party graded. Or if it's something that you can quickly send me, like an ungraded magic card, if you wanted me to do an appraisal on that, I can give you my best estimate of the condition after I see it and handle it, and then I can send it back to you and I can tell you what the value is if you wanted to use me for that. Most people that do appraisals with me are high-end collectors in the traditional antique side of the equation. They're not on the collectible side. And the reason that comes into play is sometimes they'll come across something that, to them, they think they have an idea what it is, but they want a second opinion. So they'll reach out to me, and that'll start the ball rolling. Another service that I offer is auction representation. Now, to be fair, a lot of my high-profile clients do not use me for auction representation because it's easier for them to bid on the item that they want and just have a consult with me via phone before they bid on it, and then they go from there. Most people do not use that service, but I do offer it. The next service that I offer is auction contract negotiation. If you don't know what that means, let's say that you're looking to consign a six-figure sports car collection to a major auction house, and you reach out to them and they say, hey, here's our consignment rates. You come to me and we can either do it via phone or I can handle the full negotiation for you. And in most cases, and I know a lot of auctioneers hate me for saying this, you can get a reduced consignment rate. Now, to be fair, most of my clients that I have, they can negotiate themselves with the auction house. They don't need me to do that, but they like to bounce the idea, hey, Sean, what's a realistic rate that I can negotiate with one of these auction houses that I'm going to consign this collection to? I have saved a lot of my customers just on a 1 hour phone call, thousands upon thousands of dollars. I take great pride in that, and I consider it one of the best services that I offer. Other things that I do offer my services for, auction analysis for buying and selling. You come to me and you go, Sean, I'm thinking of getting into this market, but it seems a little esoteric. I've never collected cast iron mechanical banks before. I've never tried to invest in antique glass. What are the best auction houses for buying and selling these items? I can help you navigate that terrain if you want to get into a collecting category that you may have an interest in, you may have a passion in, or you want to try your luck investing in it for the first time. I can help knock down a lot of those barriers and tell you, hey, do business with this auction house, or this auction house over here will treat you right. Or if you go to sell, you're better off doing business with this auction house rather than this auction house. So that's a service that I provide that is also very popular. Again, that's done via phone call. A next service that I offer, and these I dread, I'm going to be very honest, but I do offer them. Let's say that you don't listen to Sean's advice and you go hook up with a crazy chick and you end up marrying her, and 2 years into the relationship, she starts cheating on you. Or vice versa. I'm not sexist. Ladies, you think you met your dream guy, but he really has narcissistic personality disorder. He gets you into a relationship, you get married, and he starts cheating on you. Well, you need to end the relationship, correct? Well, there's certain laws, and again, I'm not a lawyer, that you have to abide to if you end up having to split personal property. A lot of people come to me and they say, hey, Sean, I got a $250,000 coin collection and I'm getting divorced. I have to liquidate some of my holdings to pay off my wonderful spouse who's been cheating on me for the last 2 years. These are services that I do offer. I charge a lot for those services because I also have to deal with all the wonderful problems that go along with them. For instance, I have to listen to your whole wonderful sob story as to how this person broke your heart. I also have to listen to a wonderful story about how you're getting fleeced by attorneys and other fees. Fleas, though, is kind of appropriate in this circumstance, I will admit. But anyway, fees, because you want to get this person out of your life. And for the record, I am not against marriage at all. I am a traditionalist. I would love to find somebody that I am compatible with and could build a life together. 43 years, it has yet to happen. I've had many relationships. More on that in another video. But overall, I'm by no means bitter towards these people. I just understand that if you're going to choose a spouse and you are either a man or a woman, you have to be careful about who you fall in love with. I've been saying that forever on this channel. So that's why I'm a little bit bitter. I see all these relationships dissolve, and in the center of these disputes are massive collections, valuable collections of antiques and collectibles. Because most people that are reaching out to me to use that type of service, they have millions of dollars. They have net worths of millions of dollars. That's why they're coming to me, because they're trying to protect some of the money that they have invested in some of these collecting categories. And overall, again, I'm not a lawyer. I follow the law. I follow ethics very seriously. So if a lawyer says, hey, even though she cheated on him, she gets half of that collection, guess what? That dude's stuck liquidating half of that collection to pay her off, or vice versa. Be very careful, guys, who you get involved in. Ladies, that goes double. Next service that I provide, forming a plan. I've said this before on this channel. Most people get into these markets and there's no written plan. How do you know when you're going to sell an item if you're telling your spouse or significant other that you're buying it for investment? When are you going to sell it? When it goes up in value 20%, 40%, 50%, doubles in price? Or are you just one of these people that like to tell yourself that you're buying it as an investment because you have a passion for it and you assume antiques and collectibles always go up in value? Both those things are a false. They're a fallacy in the antiques and collectibles trade. Number one, you have to have a plan if you're buying anything for investment. And number two, not all antiques and collectibles go up in value. Let me say that again. Not all antiques and collectibles go up in value. Thank you. Going on with this topic, another thing that I do is I have to sometimes help people get unstuck from overbuying antiques and collectibles. Believe it or not, I have a core portion of my business where people have net worths of $500,000 or more, but they take their wonderful credit card and they spend $90,000 on a certain antique or collectible. They call it an investment. Then Amex decides to send them the bill the next month with a 9, 10, 12% interest rate. And they look at me and they go, well, I took the risk. Can I flip it for more? No, you can't flip it for more. Now you got to liquidate that asset at a loss, most likely, because you got to pay a consignment fee to the auction house. And now you got to pay off Amex, and you're still going to owe them a little bit of money, because in most cases, you're not going to break even on that transaction. There are people that come to me to get out of those sticky situations. I've seen it all, guys. Why do you think I started this YouTube channel? Another popular service that I offer is storage advice and consulting. A lot of you out there want to go after rare coins, currency, comic books. What are some other popular collectibles at present time? Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, vintage toys, sneakers. All those items have inherent risks and they need to be stored properly. You can set up a phone call with me. I could tell you those risks. We could talk through it and you can get yourself set in a plan to at least protect those collectibles that you are investing in for the long term. That's something that I offer. Another thing that I offer is brokerage services. Now, don't get too excited. Because of ethics, because of how I position myself in the trade, I don't do full brokering. What I do is, if a client comes to me and he says, Sean, I bought a copy of Avengers 1 in CGC 9.4 back in 2008 when prices were really low for that particular book. I'm thinking of selling into the market in 2020 because the market's gone up significantly and I could cash out of that book and profit significantly. So if I have another client that I'm doing business with who says, Sean, if you know somebody who has an Avenger 1 in 9.2 or 9.4 condition, can you let me know? I'm looking to buy that book. Well, what I will do is I will mention to the person who says he wants to sell that book, hey, I have a client over here, I'm not going to tell you his name just yet because this is all confidential, who might want to buy the Avengers 1 that you have for sale. Would you be upset if I give him your name and contact information so that he can reach out to you and you guys can work out a deal? If he says, yeah, I would love that, guess what happens? I go back to this guy and I say, hey, do I have your permission to give him your contact information so you guys can connect on a sale? If they both say yes, that's great. I put them in touch with each other. I pull out of the negotiation. Now, if one of those clients of mine has a question and says, you know, I'm negotiating with this guy for the Avengers 1 and he wants X number of dollars for it, do you think that price is fair? Well, guess what? Since he's my client, I can converse with him on that. The same thing is true with the guy over here. If he says, Sean, I'm asking X number of dollars for this Avengers 1, do you think I'm asking too much? Guess what? I have to serve his interest as well. That's why I don't do the actual brokering. All I do is answer questions that are presented to me after those clients are put in each other's path. Another thing that I do, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize, I do market tracking and analysis for high-profile clients. So if you come to me and you go, hey, Sean, I have $500,000 to spend on one painting, guess what? I'm going to be able to work with you, and I'm going to say, okay, what's your experience in the art market? Is this something that you do often? Is it something that you're just getting into? Is it something where you've just inherited money and you decided you wanted to spend it on art? I mean, how is this coming into fruition? And if you tell me, well, I could use some help market tracking how, if I buy this painting, what the market's going to do over the next 5, 10 years and what it's done in the past, I can help you put together a plan so that you at least have knowledge on your side when you go out into the market and you buy your first investment piece. Now, there are certain caveats to all of this, guys. I don't have a crystal ball. Obviously, I do not guarantee that you are always going to make money in the antiques and collectibles trade, whether you come to me, whether you use my services or not. I have no way to predict that. It's no different if you sit down with a certified, licensed financial planner and you say, hey, I'm looking to have this amount of money in 10 years. This is what I'm doing. These are the funds that I'm investing in. What do you recommend? That licensed professional can give you his honest opinion. He could tell you where to put money. And guess what? Maybe in 10 years you hit the mark. Maybe you're under the mark. Maybe you're over the mark. He can't guarantee that. All he can do is answer questions based on his knowledge and experience and give you a written plan where if you use his services, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. This is the desired result. Whether we hit that result, we cannot guarantee. So that is a big caveat. The typical demographics of the current clients that I have before releasing this on YouTube, before offering to take clients from the general public, most of these people are like me. They have a net worth of $500,000 or more or higher. They have a lot of money to spend on a lot of these collecting categories. Most of them, much like me, are already educated in economics and finance. A lot of them have varying degrees of experience in the antiques and collectibles trade. In most cases, they just want to bounce ideas off of me so they don't do something stupid like pay $9,000 for a 9.8 graded copy of Spider-Man for the Atari 2600 that came out in 1982, which everybody knows is a warehouse find. There are literally hundreds of factory-sealed copies of Spider-Man for the Atari 2600 out there sitting in warehouses, if not more. So the wonderful person that paid $9,000 for that game, for a $50 phone call with me, I would have told him not to buy it. And he would have saved $8,950 as a result. So that is how serious I take this business and how well I try to treat all my customers. Now, a question I get asked, and I'm going to answer it. Sean, were you ever wrong? Yes. My advice, again, is just that. It is advice. Are financial analysts ever wrong? Are economists ever wrong? Are other consultants ever wrong? Yes. You are betting that their experience, their knowledge in these markets is going to benefit you. Over the long term, it will. In the short term, no one can predict the future. It's like playing at a casino if you are short-term speculating in a lot of these markets, guys. That's really what it comes down to. Next question. Why don't you advertise, and why is your business so secretive? That deals kind of with how I got into this business. I will tell you, a lot of my high-profile clients, they don't want me to talk about anything that we discuss, and that's already guaranteed because I don't want them going out there going, you know, I'm using this guy, Sean, with Reserved Investments to give me all my advice in antiques and collectibles. I don't want people to put me in that position. What I want is, if it comes up in conversation and this person knows someone who also has a lot of money in the market, they're good to work with, they can give them my name and they can reach out to me and say, hey, you worked with so-and-so. Would you be willing to take me on as a client or at least do a consult? Everything starts with a consult, guys, technically, in this business. Another question that I get asked is, what do you expect of your clients and what do they expect of you? Again, ethics and extreme confidentiality. I'm lucky in that I don't have to reach out to auction companies and grading companies on behalf of my clients overall. Most of my clients do that themselves. I don't mind doing it, but every time I do that, you have to understand my name gets out there and it gets attached to that client because obviously I'm calling a grading company or I'm calling an auction house on behalf of that client. So in that instance, confidentiality is sometimes broken. And I have to explain that to my clients where if I call auction house ABC and I say, hey, I'm Sean with Reserved Investments, I'm representing this person has given me permission, can you tell me this, or can I work with you on this that benefits this client? That gets a little bit into a gray area with some of the clients that I work with. So as a result, confidentiality and ethics is of the utmost importance. There is one question that I refuse to answer any client, and that is, what should I buy to make money on? That is the dumbest question. You would never sit down with a financial advisor and ask that. So why are you asking me that? The people that I work with already have a passion for certain collecting markets. For instance, I did a consult with somebody out of California who came to me. He said, I like high-end art, I like coins, and I like vintage toys. I can work with that. You gave me 3 collecting markets that you're passionate about. I can work within those parameters. The worst people I ever have to work with are the people that look at the antiques and collectibles market as a viable investment market with no knowledge or no passion of the markets contained within. That's very scary. I will often tell those people that you need to see a financial advisor, not me. I am not going to take somebody on as a client who is not already a collector, who may or may not have the investor mindset. So if you don't have any passion for collectibles, antiques, don't come to me unless somebody died, you inherited a collection, you're on the receiving end of a collection and somehow, and you don't know what to do with it. Then by all means, come to me. But if you just want to invest, this is not the market for you. These markets require you to have passion. Next question, and we're getting towards the end here, guys. Do you have competition? The answer is yes and no. Most of my competition is comprised of people who represent auction houses, people who are really dealers, and people who do not understand the 3 tiers: collectibles, antiques, and antiquities. Which brings me to one of my final points. If you are doing business with anybody in the trade and you are working with them as a consultant and they say, well, I really don't know anything about that market, use caution, guys. Any of these markets, even if they're esoteric markets, a true professional should be able to at least navigate them. He may tell you, to be fair, I don't collect that collecting category. I follow the market, but I'm really not involved in that. I just want you to know. I do, however, have contacts that I can reach out to who can guide us together on this. And that way, you're not only getting my expertise, you're also getting these other people's expertise who have a lot of knowledge in that side of the trade. For instance, I've said this before, guys, I'm a huge fan of coins. And one market that I like in particular right now are ancient coins. Well, ancient coins is not something you can easily learn. So if I'm going to invest in ancient coins, or if somebody's going to seek my advice on ancient coins, guess what? I'm also going to be seeking out the assistance of people who are knowledgeable in that market. I'm not just going to use my own attributes in something that sophisticated. So that should make the collector or the client of mine feel better about using my services. Next question, and this is very important, how much do you charge? For a consult, that's roughly contains an hour-long phone call. It can go a little over, it can go a little under, depending on time constraints. I charge $50. There is certain work that I do for $20, $25. Usually that involves consistent emails back and forth. I do limit how many emails, of course, because it cannot go on forever. And then basically at that point, it would transition into a phone call. So the cheapest option for most people is an hour-long phone call, which costs $50. Other services, for instance, if I have to get in between of a divorce or something like that, I will literally charge $100 an hour, if not more. There have been cases, I'm going to be very honest, where I had to do auction representation with a top-tier auction company that put me through the ringer. I charged the client, and I told him in advance, I said, it's going to cost you $200 an hour to use my time. He agreed. He was very happy with my services. Overall, I don't like to charge the average person that much. In my opinion, that gets on the side of exploitation if you're not careful. So in other words, a consultant should not be charging you $200 an hour on average. There is an extreme circumstance that blew up where you are spending a lot of your time and energy dealing with that client to charge that much. So overall, the average cost to anybody out there that wants to use my services is $50 for an hour-long phone call. How do you contact me? And at the end of the video, here it is, reservedinvestments@gmail.com. Let me say it again, reservedinvestments@gmail.com. Reserved investments, all one word, @gmail.com. It really is that simple. And believe it or not, there have been people that tried to contact me and they literally guessed my email address and they got it right. So that's how this works, guys. Again, no obligation if you don't want to use my services. I just decided that I would try to open this up to the general public. Some of you who reached out to me through Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like already started to use my services in this particular manner. I hope that you are a happy client. If there's anything else I can do for any of you guys, let me know. Now that you have my contact information, feel free to email me. But one quick caveat, guys, it literally takes me 24 to 48 hours to get back to some of you. Please be patient. In some instances of high demand, it may take 72 hours. So all is what I ask is your patience if you do email me. Thank you for watching. I hope this video enlightened you. If it has, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you and have a great night.